catch your breath, no doubt it's me who's running this. No, I got nothing else to lose. Unstoppable.
Welcome to Charmingly Toxic, where Prosecco meets psychology. I'm your host, Denise Capurso. Each week, my guests and I dive into the control, charm, and chaos unfolding across our favorite reality shows. We're not here to diagnose anyone, but we are here to side-eye the charm, the control, and all that unhinged emotional chaos. Cheers to my guests and all the listeners. Welcome, Cassie. It's so good to have you back.
Hi, Denise. It's good to be here.
I'm cheersing with green tea today, since we're
So am I.
recording mid-afternoon.
What a coincidence. Yes.
All right, so we're here to talk about 1,000-Pound Sisters. I've been watching this show for years, and I'm dying to talk about it. I'm so glad you're a fan as well, and a mental health professional, so we can get down to the nitty-gritty.
Yes. So interesting. I'm excited.
Okay, so let's just talk about the family in general. So this is this family from rural Kentucky, and there's 5 siblings on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Misty, who's the oldest, who I think is the most grounded.
Yeah.
She has the same mother as Tammy and Amy, but different father.
Mm-hmm.
Then Steven, not on the show. Did you know about him?
No.
So he's not on the show. He lives in Texas. He has the same father as Tammy and Amy, but different mother. But I was doing a little deep dive on Reddit, and he said their childhood was a nightmare, all manners of abuse, and I do mean all. It's why I left.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was his comment. So after Misty, then we have Steven, then Chris. And it says Misty and Chris are around late 40.
Yeah. Misty, I think, is 49 and Chris is 47.
Right. Chris seems to be the most giving, the most lovable, the most easygoing.
I love Chris. I think maybe he's the most level-headed. He's the only guy that's on the show, like of the siblings. I didn't know about the other sibling, but Chris is so loving. He's so caring. He was the one taking all the girls and all the ladies to the appointments, and he's
Mhm.
always like the voice of reason for all of them. And he's also comedic relief.
Yeah, he is. Misty's not funny. Chris is. Misty's just like straight and dry.
Yep.
So Chris and Amanda, who's coming next, they have the same mother as Tammy and Amy, but different father. And they have a different father than Misty.
Okay.
So mom had Misty, Chris, Amanda, Tammy, Amy, baby daddy number 1 with Misty, baby daddy number 2 with Chris and Amanda, baby daddy number 3 with Tammy and Amy.
And we met this guy named Jesse on one of the recent episodes, and he was like a father figure. I guess Misty started working for him in like middle school or something, and he came into the kids' lives and he was their male role model and he took them under their wing. So it seems like none of the dads were really involved. He was the more of the male father figure they call dad.
Yeah, he seemed real sweet. And then Chris is married to Brittany, who also seems very sweet, though sometimes we see her Spitfire self come out, and she is 10 years younger than Chris. So she's about the same age as Tammy and Amy.
Uh-huh.
And she is very religious. Do you know what religion she follows?
I want to say Pentecostal.
That's what I think, Pentecostal. Then there's Amanda. She's around 45-ish. She thinks she is the most stable and grounded, but she's not.
She's quick to offer everyone advice. But again, I feel like she has a hot temper, but she's also very loving too. And when she speaks, it comes from a place of wisdom, I feel like, and good intentions. She has 4 sons of her own that all seem pretty much grown by now.
Yeah.
An interesting fact, I don't know if you knew this, Amanda was married to the brother of Amy's ex-husband, Michael. So Amy and Amanda at some point were both married to brothers.
Wow. I think I knew that deep, deep down somewhere. And we'll get to Michael.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay. So then we have Tammy, who they say is 38, and Amy, who they say is 37. They meaning the internet.
Yes.
So the show starts, season 1 is really focused on these two. They're the 1,000-pound sisters. One weighs about 300, 400 pounds. The other weighs around 600 pounds. And it's their journey of weight loss. And they've always kind of been best friends, stuck together because they were ostracized in school. They didn't have a lot of friends, so they stuck together. And they were 10 years younger than their closest siblings. So really, they just had each other. And it sounds like from Facebook that they're Mom worked 3 jobs, was never there, and the oldest kids really took care of Tammy and Amy.
Yeah. And their grandmother too, I read.
But the grandmother died when Tammy and Amy were like 10 or 11.
Yeah. And they said that kind of was when things really got out of control. They were, kind of using the microwave as their best friend, they said, when they were growing up because mom was working all the time. But then grandma was helping take care of them. And when she passed away, they kind of started emotionally eating then.
Yeah. There's so many contributing factors to this. One is it's rural, poverty, not access to great healthcare, not access to quality food. I love this show because some of it is hard to watch and you have a lot of empathy and compassion for them and you're rooting for them on this journey.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very funny aspect to them where they kind of riff on each other and make jokes a lot, and they can even joke about themselves. But then there's another piece where they're like mean as hell to each other.
The sibling rivalry comes out as adults, and that's so interesting too. But that there's also a lot of love underneath that all. Like they're a tight family.
Yeah. And I think it was because of the parents, dad's being absent, mom not being around, and them just trying to survive together. So I think it's safe to say they were pretty emotionally neglected.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that all of their physical needs were met. So we have this dynamic of this enmeshed sibling group who, some of them act like have some narcissistic traits at times, which we'll get into a little bit. But I always say people who are in active addiction act like narcissists.
Right.
Doesn't mean they are, but in active addiction they are. And in the first few seasons, well, in most of the seasons, they are in active food addiction. Right. And sometimes I think Tammy even struggled with alcohol abuse.
Right. I remember that as well. And vaping, that was also hard for her to kick. But I agree. I think one of the comments made during this recent episode, though, was that they excused Tammy's behavior because she was so overweight and she was angry. But now that she's lost the weight, she's still angry and still like shooting darts at her sisters and siblings. And it's like, wait, you can't have it both ways. You can't be an excuse because you're so overweight and unhappy. Now that you've lost the weight too, you're still being really mean.
So a couple things I didn't really look up and I should have. Maybe we could look up while we're talking about it. I did Google, did these two graduate from high school? Because they don't seem well educated, but it could just be, the culture of the environment they're in, where they don't pick the right word choice or mispronounce words.
That's part of their charm.
Part of their charm, absolutely.
This latest episode was called Tinker Tantrums, I think it was. So it's like instead of temper tantrums, it's just like these little things that they come up with that are just so funny.
And I don't know if they play into it as the seasons go on because they know people get a kick out of it, or if truly they really don't know what the correct phrase is.
Yeah.
Did the older kids go to college? Do you know?
I don't know that any of them. I was trying to look up what their professions are.
Mm-hmm.
I think it said Misty was a homemaker. Amanda wasn't working recently too. Like she had some health issues. So I'm not sure what they all did for their professions. I think maybe Chris was the only one that had a job that we knew of.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought Amanda was a home health aide at one point, but I could be totally wrong. So maybe not a lot of higher education. And then, okay, so in the first few seasons, Amy is married to Michael, where this guy, I mean, you need closed captioning for when he's talking. I mean, I don't think he has teeth, which doesn't help, but he definitely mumbles. So I was thinking, is this guy illiterate? But then he was driving them all over and he drove them, to see their doctor 8 hours away. So I was like, well, if he has a driver's license, he must be literate. And so I wonder what his brother is like that was married to Amanda. I mean, because there seems to be no brain in Michael's head, like zero.
He's definitely checked out, but it was interesting. Like I always thought too, like he was always around and I was like, what does he do for a living? How do they make money? How do they support themselves? Like if they didn't have the show, and he would just like you said, just drive her around. It seemed like he was attentive because they have the two boys, Glenn and Gage. It seems like in some of the episodes, like he was engaging, at least helping her with them. But we later learned that that wasn't the case. She was doing everything.
I have a feeling he was on disability too, honestly.
Probably.
We were saying before we started recording that we know for sure Amy was on disability because of her eyesight. And then, I mean, I guess Tammy must have been. I don't think Tammy's ever worked. I think that's what they've said. Due to her size and inability to stand for long periods or move, she's never been employed.
Yeah, she was having a first sort of work experience as volunteering at the animal shelter in this season, and she was so excited to be able to do that and take part in like normal life.
So I did a little rewatch of season 1 because I hadn't done a rewatch, but also I wanted just to see how far they've come. And Tammy is a completely different person. Amy is 100% still the same exact person. There hasn't been a lot of evolving on her part, but Tammy does seem completely different. Though we see glimpses when she gets upset or irritated, we see her kind of revert back to her overweight self, who was extremely emotionally stunted. No coping skills, but where were these kids going to learn coping skills from?
Right. It doesn't seem like that was the priority at the time when they were growing up. It was more basic survival skills at that point. I think going through being overweight and being kind of isolated from the rest of the world, they lived together in the beginning too, in those early episodes, Tammy and Amy, and they're only like a year or two apart. So I think they became very codependent. And eventually when Amy did get married to Michael and did have the boys and moved out, that left Tammy by herself. And that's when she started having some unsavory boyfriends and different characters coming into her life, taking advantage of her.
I think I read somewhere too that throughout their adulthood, I think at some point maybe mom kicked Tammy out, but the siblings knew someone had to take care of her. So they kind of all took turns at different points with her living with them. And so when this show starts, she's living with Amy, but I think prior to that, she had lived with other siblings who had to take care of her because, she's pretty much immobile.
Yeah.
And when the show starts, season 1, it says she hasn't been out of the house in 6 years, except for to go to the doctor. That's a long time.
That is a long time.
And I think that probably contributed to them starting this YouTube channel, the two of them, because they were so isolated and didn't have friends. But then they had this online community of friends, which they really needed. And good for them for getting out there on YouTube.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. And they did have a huge following before the show started.
So here we are. I think it's season 8. I've been having trouble accessing it because I usually have it recorded, but it's not recording. So I have to go watch it on demand. And so it's not numbering the season or the episodes right, but I think it's season 8.
Okay.
And I think we're about 3 episodes in. So we start with Amy and her new fiance. And this guy, Brian, was introduced to us last season, I think.
Yep.
He seems sort of creepy. I get a very ick vibe from him, but she loves him. And they decided, I think within 30 days, that they were going to get married and move in with each other. She has 2 small children from her previous marriage to Michael. And it doesn't seem like Michael has any custody or anything with these kids.
No, I know that the divorce became kind of tumultuous, but she made a lot of claims and went to court, I believe, to say, like, I'm the main caretaker. Like, I'm the one that does everything for these kids. He can't even take care of them. If he were to pick them up, he doesn't even know where to begin with how to, like, feed them and change them. So it seems like she got most of the custody. I don't think he has anything right now.
I believe that to be true because he almost seems like he has a low IQ.
It does seem that way, but they've never come out and said that that's the case. But from what we can see, that's how it seems.
Yeah. But he does have a driver's license, so he can drive, but can he take care of kids? No.
But he also didn't want to. In the episodes when things started going downhill for their relationship, we saw him kind of be checked out, and he was like mean and emotionally abusive towards her, and like he wasn't willing to help at all. He would be on video games the whole time and kind of checked out, and she would be like, please help me.
Yeah. I think there might have been some addiction with him too, but they never really talked about it. So, okay. So Amy and Brian, they're going to get married and they want to get married on Halloween and have this whole haunted house theme. And last season, there was a big family controversy because she wanted to have it at an asylum or something.
Yeah, like some kind of psychiatric hospital that was haunted.
And the family was like, no. And especially Brittany, who's very religious, was like, absolutely not. I'm not going to that. But now they've seemed to tone it down a little. So they're going to get married at, I think they land on a haunted tavern. But before we get to that, we decide they want to take dancing lessons. So
that was interesting.
That was hilarious. They get there and the dance instructor's like, okay, show us your moves. And Brian starts break dancing, which was like an epic fail.
He said he hadn't done that since the 80s.
And Amy goes, he had never broke dance in front of me until today. I mean, he put it all out there and yikes, that was not good.
Yeah.
And then we see Amy sing a little bit and she says singing is for her thing and she wants karaoke at her wedding. And she says she can rap. So please, God, when you film this wedding, please film the reception and karaoke and Amy rapping, because I'm here for this.
Yes, me too.
Do you think she can?
Of course not.
It'll be fun to watch. And then the producers are so shady. They said to Brian, "Are you going to do the dirty dancing lift?"
That was
Like,
not nice.
no, that was not nice at all. Okay, and then Amy does another one of her little quips. She said the producers were interviewing them in the dance studio, and she said, "We're like two ships sailing in the night, but then we became one Titanic."
And Ryan just turns around and he was smiling, and then he looks at her when he finally understands, and he's like, "But the Titanic sunk." And she goes, "Oh, I was trying to be romantic."
I don't think these are planned things that she says.
No, they just fly out of her mouth, but that's like part of her charm, you know?
Yeah. There's not a lot of her that's charming, but that can be. Then somehow she starts talking about all the swear words in Spanish that she knows that Amanda taught her. And I guess they're pretty graphic because I don't speak Spanish, but
They were all swear words, like
all
one after
swear
the other.
Okay. So then we cut to Tammy. So Tammy has a new love interest, Andrea, and this is her first lesbian relationship.
I think she's been like interested in people in the past. I'm not sure if she's had like a full-fledged relationship, but I
Right.
think she identified as like pansexual in the past.
Yes, I believe you're right. And we saw Andrea a little bit last season, but so far what I see of her, she seems like really kind
Mm-hmm.
and sweet, and they don't seem to fight and are very supportive of each other. I think she's good people. Fingers crossed, because Tammy hasn't had a lot of luck in the past, and she was married previously when she was in a nursing home for a year to lose weight, and she had met her husband there, Caleb, and she was more driven than him to lose weight, and she was able to leave the nursing home, and he was not, and then he wound up dying from complications of obesity,
Right.
which was so sad and horrible for her. I don't think they were married for very long when that happened.
No, a few months, and they were keeping in contact on the phone and FaceTiming and things like that. And he unexpectedly passed away, but it was really sad. You could tell they really loved each other and were there for each other through this battle that they were fighting for their life. And she ended up leaving and being able to get the surgeries and things that she needed, and he never made it out.
Yeah, so at this point, she is down. I think when she started the show, she was over 600 pounds. Now she said, what, she's
So she's
180?
down to 180. When she, at her highest weight, she was 725. And they showed some photos of her in the first episode as well this season. When she got the surgery, I think she was at 525, but she needed to lose weight in order to qualify to even get the surgery because she was so morbidly obese. So then over time, she's lost 560 pounds now, and she's down to like 180, and she's like a size 12. So that's like, she hasn't been that size. Even when she was in middle school, they showed photos. So.
And the weight really is the skin, because if you see like her collarbone and her upper body,
Yes.
like if she didn't have that skin, I would think maybe she was anorexic. She looks so malnourished in the face. Now she's a lot happier and she's mobile and she can walk around, but I do think there's some malnourishment going on. There's a lot of hair loss. Do you see that kind of?
I do see that. And when you're losing so much weight at once and you're significantly cutting down your calories and all of that, coupled with malabsorption that comes when you have these gastric bypass surgeries, your body can't take in vitamins from food as much as it would before. So I think that leads to, if you're not on top of your vitamin intake and things like that, you can absolutely become deficient in things pretty quickly. But also, like you said, the skin is it's hanging there. And also, she was in a wheelchair for many years and not able to walk at all. So the muscle deterioration. And so when you're losing weight, you're also, if you're not careful and having enough protein, you're losing that muscle mass as well. So it really depends if she's keeping on top of her supplements and her intake of the protein that she would need.
Yeah.
But I think she had some skin removal surgeries of her neck. Like she had that big, like turkey neck, gobble neck happening when she lost all that weight. And then they also did some of her middle.
And her arms. Yeah.
But she's still, if you look at her legs too, it looks like it's painful for her to walk, and like she doesn't have a lot of mobility and strength still.
Absolutely. And I do worry about the malabsorption piece.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the things. Amanda has been having some health issues and she's been fainting and stuff like that. I follow some of the things on Facebook and social media, and she was in the hospital multiple times and she would take videos in the hospital like, I'm here again. They don't know what's wrong with me. In this recent episode, she said they think that the fainting spells might be due to malabsorption of vitamins or something to do with her blood pressure because it was extremely low.
Yeah. And anyone listening that doesn't watch the show, each of the 5 siblings have had gastric bypass at different points. So they're kind of all bonded over that together. They were all morbidly obese and they've all been on this weight loss journey together. But I agree, Amanda, in the face, you can see something's going on. So I hope they figure that out for the both of them. So back to Tammy and Andrea, we see them at the thrift store and they're trying to find decor for now they live together. And you could tell that Tammy has some hoarding tendencies.
Yep. Poor Andrea. She was trying to like rein her in a little bit. Andrea was trying to be like, no, we're only shopping for the house. And Tammy would be like, but look at these shoes. These shoes can be on me and I would be in the house. So technically it counts. And Andrea's like, it's really hard for me to say no to her. So, okay, whatever you want, like just get whatever. But you could tell like shopping is something that Tammy's really enjoying lately.
Yeah, I mean, definitely getting clothes that fit, maybe having access to more money than she's ever had in her life when, living in poverty forever. But also, I'm wondering, when you're obese and there's not much to entertain you, I wonder if collecting of things becomes a source of entertainment, or just when people bring you things, you keep them. And if you're not getting much outside stimulation from other things. So that would make a lot of sense to me.
It was interesting though, because like we've seen inside their houses before when they lived together, Tammy and Amy, and then when Tammy moved next door to Chris. And I never saw like a lot of clutter or hoarding tendencies. So I'm not sure if she keeps that.
I mean, I don't think Amy's a hoarder. She's definitely not a great housekeeper. Brittany might have a little tendencies, but everything in her house is so organized, like to the T, perfect. Amanda, we've only seen her house a few times. I don't know.
Well, and Amanda also, like, she's kind of been spending time with each of the siblings. When I think she was dating someone, she moved to Florida for like a couple of months and didn't work out. And then she ended up coming back and she's been kind of sleeping on people's couches. At least last season she was.
Yeah, that's the other thing about this family. And maybe we could talk about TLC money right now because there's 8 seasons, right? They've been on and they've all lived in each other's houses at some point over the 8 seasons. Like always one season, oh, this one's living with this one because this reason, or there's always some reason. And it causes fighting amongst them because it's too close for comfort. But I was talking to Cassie before we started recording. I'm like, okay, how much are they getting paid by TLC and where is this money going? Because I have never seen an upgrade to their living conditions. I have seen maybe a new minivan or two. Really, and so Cassie, you were saying.
I looked up and it said in the earlier episodes, the 2 sisters were getting $1,500 to $3,000 per episode. And in the later seasons, they estimate $7,000 to $10,000. So we know the siblings are not the stars of the show. Obviously, 1,000-pound sisters are the stars of the show. So they're probably getting a good amount less. But like you said, there wasn't a lot of upgrade in their lifestyle. We don't see them flaunting any kind of cash. Like they still can use some dental work. I think Chris even cracked, or one of them cracked in a joke in this latest episode, like how Tammy's already missing a front tooth because Amy was like, I'm going to knock her out. And he's like, she's already missing a tooth. She's like, I'll make her miss another one. Like, so we haven't seen them living this really like uppity lifestyle transition from over the season.
Not at all. And so I wonder, is TLC exploiting them a bit, underpaying them, and they don't know, or, they don't know any better, or do they have anyone financially advising them about how to utilize their money? I don't know, but I would love some inside scoop to that because I would like to see, Amy live in better living conditions.
Well, and I feel like it probably could be a combination of both. I mean, they probably aren't investing a lot of the money, but also I feel like maybe they're happy with the way that they live. That's where they're comfortable, and also I think that they could be being exploited, right? But if they didn't renew the contract, because every time a season ends, it's like, will there be another season? And, you kind of tune in. The chats basically say like, oh, they're negotiating every time. But if they didn't do this, they had the YouTube channel. I guess they could do that and get some more contracts through that for promotion and stuff. But if they didn't have this, what would they do? What would be their source of income? So where's their leverage to negotiate for something more? So they might as well do this. I don't know that any of them have regular jobs. So like they kind of depend on this.
I wonder maybe how someone's helping them, put it in retirement accounts or some long-term disability, as they age, like, they've seen already how much it costs to get help inside the home, or if you have to go to a nursing home, how much that costs. So
Right.
hopefully someone's advising them. I really hope so.
I hope so for the long term too. Like you never know when the show won't be renewed, and hopefully that they would still have something to fall back on. But
Yeah.
one of the other things we also discussed is like, hey, each of these family members has had bariatric surgery, which is not cheap, and some of the reconstructive surgeries with skin removal afterward. And Amy's still hoping to get skin removal, and some of the family members, Chris has had it. So I think that there's probably some sort of negotiation for either a reduced price or a complimentary from their doctor, I think Dr. Smith in Kentucky, that they go, all of them have had surgery by him. So I'm guessing because he's on the show and he's able to kind of get that promotion, that he negotiates with the production company to get them a lower price. So that's also incentive for them. Hey, we're getting these discounted or maybe free surgeries. We should stick around and get the most we can out of it.
I think like some of them, probably the skin removal wouldn't be covered because it would be considered cosmetic. And so maybe that's true. But I think for Tammy, that's medically necessary skin removal. So it should be covered by Medicaid or Medicare or whatever she's on. I don't know if they would cover Chris's or Amy's. I'm not sure.
Right. This episode was interesting because we kind of saw Brittany finally get her surgery, which is Chris's wife. And she loves her sodies, as she says. She has diabetes.
I know. I was rewatching episode 1 and they asked, how many sodas do you drink a day? And this wasn't Brittany. I think this was Amy. And she was like, 16. What?
Wow.
16 cans of soda a day.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That's a lot.
Right.
I think they were saying Brittany was saying 10 or more a day of soda.
I mean, she was so proud of herself and she's always in the background. She, for the longest time, I would ask my sisters, like, does this woman talk? Is she mute? Like, what's happening? But she was really proud of herself and Chris was so proud of her. And they were all supportive, after, she kind of did her little show off dance twirl of look at the weight I lost. And they're all having barbecue to celebrate.
Which was 5 weeks out. We didn't see Brittany eat anything, but still like that heavy meal to have after you've been on like liquid diet, slowly transitioning to like soft foods. And now like 5 weeks out, you're having a barbecue. That doesn't add up.
Yeah. Also, she's having a pie making business and he's going to be doing catering of barbecue. I'm like, maybe this isn't the best plan. I mean, that's their skill set, I guess, baking and stuff. But I guess if they have good willpower, they can not eat their food.
They want to start a food truck. And so they were joking around about the different names they would choose and that, be a husband and wife business. And I think that they can, like, they have this new tool through having the gastric bypass that really makes their stomach smaller. And from what I've heard and everything, it's strongest in the beginning. And then over time, you can start slipping and eating more and expanding your stomach too. So it's a tool, but it's not a solution. So you have to use it the right way. So I see what you're saying.
Well, I know of 2 people who had gastric bypass and they gained almost all of it back. And then the one person I kind of know had it a second time and gained it back.
So it's a tool, but it's not a solution. Like you'll never gain the weight back if you don't use it correctly. But it's interesting to see all of this happening with Brittany. I know she was a little bit overweight, but not as much as the rest of the siblings were. And so I think she lost I think they said she was like 235 and then she went down. She's 190. So, do the math on that, 45 pounds or something. Yeah. And so she was in the 5-week period though. So that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will help her diabetes because that's, again, it's not just from the weight. It's also to help people who have complications from obesity. So to lower her A1C and all those things.
And she was motivated because she wants to get pregnant. And that's why Amy was motivated, highly motivated in the beginning too. But once Amy had the kids, she was pretty much like, fuck this. I don't care. Because Amy's gained a lot of the weight back.
She has. And they've made mentions that before, that Amy's now the biggest sibling, even bigger than Chris, I believe. But I think we also have to talk about how Amy, like, she had a breakdown when through her divorce and everything after that, she was crying and she was emotional all the time. She doubted her abilities as a mother. She was flying off the handle at everyone. She really hit like an all-time low. And it was only when she met Brian, it seemed like she started to come out of that a little bit.
Yeah. She was definitely having postpartum, and that was not addressed, at least on the show at all. And none of the siblings, I mean, they do have a lot of patience with her, but they are also like, okay, get your shit together. Like, we've all done this. Like, you can do it too. Come on now.
Pick yourself up by the bootstraps.
Yeah. So hopefully Brian is not creepy, and this is a good match, and especially for those boys.
What did you think about when they were talking at the table and Chris brings up, is this where you're going to, where Chris brings up that he wants to go on a trip with Brittany, like some kind of road trip?
Yes.
And they kind of all invited themselves, mainly Tammy, and he, to celebrate how far Brittany's come in her dedication and her progress. And Tammy's like, well, I've come a long way too, so we got to celebrate me.
Amy too was like, yeah, I'm on that trip. There is something going on between Tammy and Brittany. Like this, it's like they fight over Chris. It's super weird.
It is. Did you notice, like, when, I think it started back when Tammy went to live next door in the house that Brittany and Chris own next door to them. She went to stay with them for a little while Chris renovated it, but it took a little bit longer. And so you're having them all in tight quarters. And I believe that Chris has 2 older kids that have children themselves. So the house was getting crowded. And so I think they were getting on each other's nerves a little bit. But Tammy very much, it was a push and pull of Chris, like, no, he needs to be with me. He needs to help me. He needs to. And Chris is very attentive to Brittany. So he was definitely being pulled in both directions. And I think it is very weird how she wants him to prioritize her over his own wife.
I think Tammy also, since she has been dependent on people her whole life to function, she, I think, equates that with love. Like, if you help me with daily living skills, then you love me. And if you're not around, I feel abandoned, even though I can do it myself. And obviously, she's really struggled with any intimate, partners. So I think that's really the struggle for her is, if I don't need you for things, are you still going to love me and be around? And she kind of reverts back to this bratty, like, behavior.
Yeah, that is so interesting. I can see that. And she's like demanding, almost like a child, like, I need to be cared for, and gets kind of an attitude in that way.
And it's not fair.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And she gets competitive for the attention with her other siblings as well. But like with Andrea, she has a partner now to help take care of her and give her that attention. And when she bought the care package over to the house for Brittany, oh my gosh, Brittany, she's also something else though, because she didn't try to hide the fact. Like, so what happened was, if you hadn't seen the episode, Tammy came over, Brittany was recovering from surgery, and she came to visit at the house, and she bought a care package that had like gas X in it and a couple of different things. And so at first she gives it to Brittany. Brittany doesn't even open it. She puts it down and she stays there quietly. Eventually she does open it. And as she's going through it, she's like, oh, I don't really need this. I don't have a problem with this. You got this? I don't really need to use that. That's fine. And so she never once said thank you or anything like that. And Tammy's like, I'm trying to be nice, bring her a care package. And this is how she responds.
It kind of was like a fuck you, because as Tammy was saying, it was a care package specifically to gastric bypass that they all seem to have given each other as like a family tradition, right? Okay, now it's your turn. I'm getting you the care package. And Brittany's kind of like, I'm not like you, and I don't need this, and
no,
we're not the same.
And I don't need this from you. Like, I think if anyone else had given it to her outside this family, she would have at least been receptive to it or kind and like, thank you. But she didn't really give anything to Tammy, which I felt kind of bad for.
Poor Chris. He's in the middle of that. Okay, so then Tammy hasn't seen Amy in a month. And this is when they go over to see Brittany's big weight loss reveal. My thing is like, what is this filming schedule? Like, how could she have not seen her in a month?
Well, they've been kind of doing things separately. Like, a lot of the focus has been on couples now. So Andrea and Tammy, they film a lot together. And then Tammy and Misty and Chris have filmed together. And Amy has been wedding planning, so she's been doing her own thing and filming with Brian. So they really haven't had to cross paths that much. But they've kind of alluded to, the family has at least said, hey, the family group chat's been blowing up. Like, they've been really, unkind to each other in this chat.
Yeah. I'm thinking Real Housewives, because I think like their filming season is like 3 months and it's like intense. This seems to be like, we just film year round, and I don't know, like, We pull together what we can. So that's when they talk about, okay, we're going to take this trip to New Orleans for Brittany. Chris wants to take Brittany. And then Amy's like, oh, yeah, I'm in. This is right up Amy's alley. Like New Orleans is everything Amy loves. Everything haunted.
Cemeteries.
The food scene, like, they're all in. I'm sure they're all going to go. And a lot of this is production fueled, right? Production being like, okay, we're going to say it's Amy or Chris and Brittany's trip, but then you guys are going to pile on and it's going to be a disaster. Make it a disaster, which isn't hard. I don't think they need much push from production to have things go off the rails. And then finally, the way that Amy, quote unquote, asks the women to be in the bridal party, which she doesn't. And she just like, hey, like the dress fittings are blah, blah, blah. And they're like, wait, what? We're in your wedding? What are you talking about? And then she doesn't ask Tammy to be her maid of honor, which Tammy is devastated about, even though they haven't talked in a month. But Tammy was her maid of honor in the first wedding.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I was a little bit like, okay, this is her second marriage. Also, you guys are both not talking to each other. You've both been on each other's throats. You weren't even going to go to the wedding. Everyone was pretty clear in the beginning that because it was at that insane asylum that they weren't going to go. And they've been unsupportive of the relationship for the most part between Brian and Amy. So what would make you think that you would be chosen as the maid of honor who's supposed to be like your main person support through the wedding, process? So that I didn't understand. And as soon as that statement was made, though, that I think it was Lily or whoever Amy's new best friend is going to be the maid of honor, you saw the wheels turning, and she didn't say anything, but she just held on to it. And we see later on in the episode what happened.
Yeah. So they get into this huge text war, and this is this family. Like this is the definition of this family, right? So Chris says it starts at 5 a.m. This text war, he said there was 180 messages back and forth. And do you want to talk about the camel bite and the PTSD?
So, okay, yes, I'll talk about it because it's kind of important too to the whole family lore. So when Amy and Brian got together, they went to this Tennessee wildlife park where they could drive through and have, feed the animals and everything. This was several months ago. Well, while feeding the animals and having the window open, this camel bit Amy and did some real damage. She needed stitches and everything. And so they ended up calling the paramedics to the wildlife park. When they called the paramedics, there was a smell of marijuana. They ended up searching the car, which they also had the two little kids, like 3 and 1 year old or something, in the back seat. So it actually led to Amy and Brian being arrested. And that kind of put an unsavory taste in the family's mouth as far as who this new guy Brian was. Like, oh, now my sister's arrested after meeting you and spending time with you, right? But she ended up getting some kind of plea bargain, and they ended up not doing time. They have to do parenting classes and some other stuff. But she does have a record now for the time being of having these, I think it's 2 counts simple possession or something after meeting this guy. Okay, fine. Well, when Tammy and Amy cut to now this episode, Tammy's been volunteering at this animal shelter, and she's like, I know Amy loves animals and we should go. This will bring us back together. So she invites Amy to go volunteer with her. Well, Amy says that she had this dream at night and, about being attacked by an alpaca. And she was asking Tammy and the family in the group text, which started all this, like, hey, do they have any alpacas in this place that are gonna, because now I have PTSD, I'm afraid I'm gonna get bitten. And instead of answering back, like, no, that's crazy, like it's cats that she's been like cleaning the litter for and stuff like that, playing with puppies, like she gets upset and she automatically says, this is because you don't want to come. You're trying to use this as an excuse. And that's when she just unloads. And all of the pent up anger and everything that Tammy has had against Amy, probably for the not being maid of honor and all the things that have happened over time, she just unloads and she cuts really deep. She says that Amy's like an unfit mother and that Amy is parading all around town and was with everyone, basically in a sexual way, and that now she's with Brian. She was just cutting really deep and it was unnecessary for her to take it there. And so they were going back and forth, but that's basically what happened. It all resulted from the PTSD from the camel bite 6 months or 7 months before.
Yeah. Obviously there's not going to be an alpaca or a camel at an animal shelter, but the way Tammy rips into her is so abusive. Is Amy a great mom?
You could tell she loves her kids.
She loves her kids. She probably didn't have the best mom example. I think, Misty says she does her best, but to just hit her where it hurts the most,
right.
Because she has so much shame about that arrest and those charges. I mean, you're definitely not the maid of honor now. Like you were before, but definitely not.
And it tells you like how she really feels about her and like what lengths she's willing to go to. Like if you're upset, fine, let's talk about it. But for you to just throw her under the bus and tear into her about everything, and I felt bad for Amy because she's like, I know I'm not a good mom. Like she was crying to Brian and telling him about the text messages and stuff, and it's just so unnecessary.
Okay, so with the underlying that this family does really love each other and that they are compassionate humans, who do you think can be the most toxic out of all of them?
It's a toss up for me between Tammy and Amy. I think probably Tammy though.
I think it's a toss up for me between Tammy and Amanda.
Okay.
Because when Amanda gets pissed, she is awful. Amy just is more like throws a tincture tantrum. Like she more tantrums.
Yeah.
But she's not trying to cut anyone to the core. Like she acts like a toddler, but not like malicious.
It gets annoying, I guess, the way that she is. It's very needy and very like she's very immature with the way she thinks about things, and so I can, that gets on my nerves as a viewer a little bit sometimes. Like, okay, we get it, enough. Like, let's move forward. But I can see that with Amanda. It's just Amanda makes so much sense. Like when she's talking about things, like she doesn't say it necessarily in a kind way, but like you get where she's coming from, and she's pretty tough though. She's no nonsense. She doesn't take anyone's crap. So I kind of respect her for that.
I think too that we don't see her much, but I think, she's made a lot of mistakes, and I don't know about her mothering, and she kind of is sometimes like, I'm up here and you guys are down here. Like I'm, 3 levels above you.
I could see that.
I'm excited to see what's to come. So you'll have to come back. Like we're only on episode 3. How many episodes do they usually do?
Probably 10 or something. I feel like
come back towards the end. I do want to see if this season Tammy gets the plastic surgery on her legs to remove the skin. You think that will happen this season?
I'm not sure. I'm really excited though to see Amy's supposed to get surgery on her eye, which is supposed to help her vision.
Oh yeah.
I'm super excited to see that. And I also want to see if Brittany ends up getting pregnant because, like you said, that was one of her motivations also, besides its diabetes, to have children. She's been raising Chris's kids or raised them, and now they're his grandchildren. And I don't know if you caught this too, this comment that Tammy made about like, Brittany wants to have kids, but I don't even think Chris wants to have any kids anymore. So she's kind of like in everybody's business making these comments, you know?
I mean, I think Chris is so sweet. He'll just do what Brittany wants, but he does have grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
With Tammy's eye, do you think that goes back to neglect of not having that surgery when she was younger? Because clearly it would have been paid for by Medicaid, right?
I'm not sure what all like her diagnosis was. I'm like excited to see her go to the doctor and find out what exactly was the issue from the beginning, because since we met her, she's always just had issues with her vision and her eye wandering visibly. You can see it. So like you said, like I wonder why it wasn't corrected, if it was possible, because sometimes these things can't be helped, right? But like if it was possible to be helped all this time, why didn't she? Maybe there's just newer procedures or things she has access to now that she didn't before.
True.
So we'll see.
All right. Well, you're going to have to come back.
Sounds good.
For sure. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Charmingly Toxic. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your fellow reality TV junkies. You can connect with me on Instagram at Charmingly Toxic and join the conversation in the Charmingly Toxic Facebook group. This podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. While I am a licensed therapist, I'm not diagnosing anyone here. Expect real talk, sarcasm, and a few clinical insights woven in along the way. If you're seeking support for a toxic relationship, please reach out to a licensed